We're here to help the loved ones of those recently incarcerated or recently arrested. We are on this learning journey together. We're a part of our Lessons Learned Incorporated, and we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we're geared to help you. We don't charge, we do this free. Our time and our resources are here to help you. If you'd like to make a donation to our organization, you may do so. We do have um, our Cash App, which is $ OLL Connectors with an S on it, or we do have our PayPal. You can go to our website, which is ourlessonslearned.org, and make a donation. This way, we can continue to help and service those in need at their time of trouble. You know, a lot of people don't understand what it's like until it hits your doorstep. I had no idea until it came and hit my doorstep. Good evening, Lee. How are you?
Good evening, Lynn. I'm fine. Very warm here today, and I hear it's pouring in the New York area, but I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
So glad to be here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, this is an exciting time of year for
It
many.
is.
And then for some, it's not because, you may be an empty nester now and not know what to do with all of that free time. So it's time to engage in some other activities. And you know what? Pick up a new journey, embark on a new journey, pick up a new habit or something that's going to engage you and get your mind active. There are also some groups that you can get involved with. You don't have to get up and, take the kids to school, make those lunches, find out what the homework is, what clothes they have on, because you know how some people sneak out with some things they should never have on, and things like that. And then for other parents, it's a sad time because they may be taking their kids to college, and this may be the children's last year in high school. That is very important. And I remember those days, and it can be an exciting time, but then yet it could be kind of fearful. Are they going to do the right thing? I'm not there to help them. You know what? The Bible says, raise up a child in the way they should go, so when they get older, they won't depart from it. So we have to remember those things as well. Lee, do you remember those days when that was,
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Man, it was really
yeah,
something. And I'm
yeah,
just thinking here, in my family alone, we have about five that have just graduated high school that'll be going off to venture into different adventures. And so these parents are all, they got the hair standing on their heads for the mothers and the fathers. So because they're going off into different stuff now, and we have to prepare them. We have
yes,
to
we do.
prepare them because there's so much out there waiting, just waiting for them.
Yes, Lord. And teaching children how to protect themselves in difficult situations can be valuable, but it's important to present it in a balanced way that emphasizes respect, honesty, and appropriate communication with trusted adults. And, there are certain things, life skills, rather than encouraging secrecy or confrontation. And one thing that we like to stress, and we've had attorneys on here before talking about the 4Ds, and this is so important as your child is now embarking on adulthood, being away from you at home and being at college with other people. Peer pressure is great, hanging out with friends that you may not know about. So, you know what? How can you protect your loved one? And that's what we want to talk about briefly this evening, the 4Ds. And it is so important. I didn't teach my child this because I never thought that I would have to. But now, in hindsight, from our lessons learned, and Lee can attest to this, this is so important for us to do. So, The 4 Ds every parent should teach their children, their loved one. The first one, don't talk without counsel. Teach your child if they are ever questioned by law enforcement, school officials about a serious allegation or another authority regarding a potentially criminal matter, they should respectfully say, I would like to speak to my parent, guardian, or an attorney before answering questions.
Mhm.
Do not answer any questions without. This helps protect their rights while remaining respectful. Mine did not do that because I was taught them, and the truth shall set you free. But we see that it didn't work that way because the hand of one is the hand of all. Lee, would you like to say anything about don't talk without counsel?
Well, don't talk. I'm thinking in terms of a lot of the young ones going off to college and going back to high school, and
Mhm.
parents have gotten or purchased them vehicles or so to take them into that senior year or take them off to now that they're in college. Some of those that can have vehicles that first year. I'm thinking about the students that will encounter police officers or so for the first time while they're driving. And it is so important that we don't talk. Now, that's you have to be kind of careful with that a little bit because it doesn't mean don't say anything. It says just answer the question. Don't say too much because you can give them a audience or a script so that they can write these things against you. So just answer the question that they ask you and don't go into a whole lot of, if they ask you where are you coming from, I'm coming from home, period. You
Mhm.
don't have to let them know I was coming from home, but we had dinner and I had a drink at the dinner and stuff because you're giving them a script to write
Mhm.
things against you. So don't talk means don't talk out of the realm of the question that they asked you. Just say or just answer the question that they asked you. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? I'm coming from home. Where are you going? I'm going to work.
Mhm. And that's
And
important that you do that. I definitely agree with that. And remember this statement, I would like to speak to my parent or your guardian and or an attorney before answering questions.
mhm,
And you can say that with all due respect.
yeah.
And that will help protect your rights. Remember, that will help them because the Miranda rights have to be given first or should be given first. Anything that you say can be used against you. So you got to make sure that you remember that. And parents, please tell this to your children.
Hmm.
Then again, don't sign anything without legal advice. Children and teens should understand that they should never sign documents they do not fully understand, especially if they are being accused of wrongdoing. Encourage them to ask for a parent slash guardian or an attorney before any paperwork is signed. I'm going to wait for my attorney to review this. And a lot of times, a lot of fast talking can happen and you may feel coerced. So make
Yeah.
sure that you drill that in their heads. I'm not allowed to sign anything before speaking with my attorney. Period. Okay? And then, Lee, would you like to cover don't consent to the search?
Oh, oh, sure. Do not consent to a search. Um, you can clearly state to the officer, and most of the time, not only with driving, but also with walking and stuff, also because they can stop you during the times when you're walking, also. But you want to make sure they have body cams now, so they're supposed to be on and stuff. And you want to make sure that you are cooperative. At best you can, try to remain calm. And that's hopefully as a result of our conversation tonight at the table, your young ones will be able to remain calm as you explain it to them if they're not watching themselves. But let them know to remain calm as best they can. Don't resist. Um, give the officer what is required, and certainly presents or clearly state to the officer and into that body cam any information that they're asking. Officer, I'm not resisting, and I will do what you ask, but I do not consent to any search, and I'm going to remain silent as far as answering anything other than the direct question that you asked me. And that should be enough. You're not consenting to any search, because
Yeah.
once you consent to that search, you can't take it back. And trust me, they'll use that against you.
Yes. Exactly. Lee, thank you for that. And that is so important. This does not mean that you're resisting or interfering. If a search is conducted anyway, they should never physically resist. Simply
Right.
stating that they do not consent preserves their legal position. Remember that. You're preserving your legal position. So remember, do you have a search warrant? Different things. Do not resist, but simply state you're preserving your legal position. And then don't resist. Come on. Do not resist. If approached or detained by law enforcement, your loved one should remain calm. Keep their hands visible. Make sure their hands are visible and follow the instructions, the lawful instructions, and never argue or physically resist. Any
That's right.
concerns about whether something was lawful can be addressed later through a parent, attorney, or the courts. If
That's
anything
right.
is done unlawfully, it will be addressed. Okay? So remember, don't act up and resist. Please teach your loved ones to not resist. Okay? Remain calm and keep their hands up. Okay? Matter of fact, while they're driving, make sure they always have the license out. So then they don't have to dig for it. It's always out. And that's going to be important. License and insurance always out. And your hands up on here. Here it is right here, my license and my thing. And that way you're not looking in your pocket and some assumptions can be made of something else. And you know, it is so important, not to make a deal. Lee, would you like to go over don't make a deal?
Well, certainly, if we stay with don't talk and don't consent, certainly you don't want to make a deal. So if they are stopping you for whatever reason or so, you certainly don't want to make a deal. Period. You're not making any deals without for our young ones without speaking to that parent, that caregiver, that attorney that has been appointed. You're not making any deal without consulting them first.
Exactly. And this is so important that, these things are done. And, if you really think about it, don't talk without counsel, don't sign anything without legal advice, don't make a deal, don't consent to a search, and don't resist. These are the D's. And there's actually 5 D's. And these are legally written. And I want you, this is common knowledge, but a lot of us don't know about this because we may feel as parents, well, we don't have to tell our child this because they're not going to do it. But you never know when they're around other people. So you want to make sure you do this. And the purpose of these D's is not to teach our loved ones or children to distrust authority, but to help them protect their legal rights. Avoid making statements when they're scared or confused, and make thoughtful decisions rather than acting under pressure. They can stay safe by remaining calm and respectful. Remember, in the heat of the moment, anxieties are up there, and you can say things and do things that can have lasting consequences. So, you want to make sure that your loved one knows this, and maybe you want to give them OLL's number. Maybe you want to give them the attorney's number who you're going to use that can, hey, if anything happens, I need you to call the attorney right away. That way they know what to do and how to proceed. Sitting down with them and having them repeat this to you is a way to keep them safe. And, parents also, you want to teach them to tell the truth. You want to teach them to be respectful to authority figures. You also want to teach them to contact a trusted adult immediately if they
Mhm.
feel unsafe or if they're questioned about a serious matter. And understanding that, knowing their rights, treating others respectfully can go hand in hand and can avoid a lot of legal action. That is what you're trying to do, is you're trying to avoid a lot of mishaps and a lot of miscommunication. A lot of times we think that that one answer can save us, but that's the one answer that can hurt us and harm us. So we want to make sure that we are acting in an appropriate manner and following the directions legally. And these principles are most appropriate for older. We're talking about middle school too. Because if they're 14, things can happen in the middle school that they need to know this. And this is so important. Also, these principles are often for the older teenagers and children who can understand both their legal rights and their responsibilities. For younger children, the focus should be on seeking a trusted adult and cooperating safely while waiting for a parent or a guardian. And I want you to really look at this and have that conversation right now as school starts. Because as young folks get into school, they're hanging with this one, they're hanging with that one. They're going to parties, they're doing things, and sometimes they're not acting out of the best interest of, themselves or their friends. Sometimes they're followers and not leaders. And sometimes we succumb to pressure, and we should not do that. So make sure that these principles are followed for a great school year away from home as they're growing. And these are the principles that they should take throughout life. If they drove to college, hey, if they get stopped on the highway, hands up, license and registration out. These are the things that are going to help right away. Let me call my attorney. I can't talk without an attorney. These are the things that they should know. Lee, would
Mm.
you like to add anything onto that?
Um, you mentioned driving off to school or so, and I guess my head is just kind of focused on driving and police officers stopping because our kids are out there for the first times or so, and they like to go fast, or they're on these different phones and things which they shouldn't be on and stuff, so they can get themselves in a predicament. The thing with it is these young folks are afraid, and this is why it's so important that we prepare them ahead of time. They're afraid they're going to say what they've been taught, so it's important that we teach them so as to prepare them in the event this type of a situation will come up. We don't want it to ever come up, but you never know when it's going to be on their doorstep. And the police officers are our friends, but they are also trained to be intimidating, and that can frighten our young folks very much or so. So you want to prepare them and let them know, don't talk, don't
Yes.
consent to a search, don't sign, don't make a deal. Let them know ahead of time so that they will know and not be afraid if that time comes, because it can be a situation that can be avoided if we prepare them ahead of time, and they can be calm, stay polite as we taught them, and answer the question that the officer is asking. You're not resisting, and just make that statement, officer, I um, I'm I answer your questions. However, I do not consent to any search, and they can't search you unless they have a warrant, um, your permission, which you're not giving them, or probable cause. So certainly, if they don't have that probable cause, and I know they're not going to have that probable cause. There's no warrant, and if you're not given that consent, then they can't search you. However, in the event, as Lynn said, Now, if they're stopping you and you're rolling the window down or so, and the officer is saying, um, do you know why I stopped you? Or, of course, again, we want to be polite. You want to try to remain calm. No, officer, I don't know. Can you tell me why you stopped me? Roll your window down. Comply. Roll the window down. Um, they're asking for your license, registration, your insurance, your ID. Calmly given those things. Again, like Lynn said, keep your hands in plain sight so that they can see, and let them know if you need to. Officer, I'm reaching for my identification. It's in my glove compartment. It's in my pocket. It's in my purse. Whatever. Let them know. But don't comply, but don't give them anything to build a story for, against you. If they ask you to step out of the car, step out of the car. They're allowed to pat you down. I'm not going to say search. They're allowed to pat you down, but they're allowed to pat the outside of your clothing or so. Um, if they want to look at your license registration or so and take that back to their car, let them, they're allowed to do that. Some of these things they are allowed to do, so you don't want to interfere with that or make a situation any worse than what it is. If they're looking at those things and they are taking a long time or so, give them appropriate amount of time or so, but you do have the right to say, as you're remaining calm, if they're not coming back or so, because usually, again, they're usually using some kind of trick, so they're usually trying to wait you out or so. So let them. You can say to them, "Officer, am I under arrest, um, or am I free to go?" So those are some of the things that you want to keep in mind, as you, if you encounter a police officer while you're driving, or even when you're walking. Some of the same things can be used or so. These same principles can be used, and you want to put those in force. Just keeping in mind that you don't need to talk any more than answering the direct question that they ask. Don't consent to any searches of your vehicle or your book bag or your possessions or whatever and stuff, because they can't do that again without a warrant, without probable cause, or without your consent. And you don't want to give them that consent either way, one way or the other. You don't want to sign anything unless and it's after you've spoken to your attorney, your parent, or whatever. So, in the event that situation happens, and if it does, because you're calm and you're collect and you've um, complied with the officer. So if it means that you end up being arrested, or so, you'll have your time in court, and because those things are recorded, or so with the body cam, as you've spoken into those things, and say those things, the things that you need to say them loud enough to make sure that they're recorded on that body cam. But you'll have your time in court, and all of it will come out at that time. But as best you can, have your young folks remain calm and just comply with the officer.
Yes. And from a mental health standpoint, when that loved one calls, or if that loved one is pulled over, there's a lot of anxiety. I need you to just breathe. Take a deep breath and just breathe. Put your hands up over heart level and just breathe. And that is going to help reduce that anxiety.
Mm,
Pant breathing as well will also reduce the anxiety. And that is one thing that you can do. And as a parent, keeping your anxiety low is going to help keep your loved one's anxiety low. So, those are the things to help at that time. So, these are the just a short a show tonight on going back to school and what that really means from the 4Ds perspective. And let's say 5Ds, because you're not going to resist. Don't consent to a search. Don't resist. Don't sign anything without legal advice. Don't talk without legal advice. And uh, don't sign anything, and, don't make a deal. So, those are the things that you want to remember. And we hope that you're going to have a great school year, and sending that child away to college, or if that child is moving away to another city, and things of that nature, send them away with a strong foundation on the D's of don't do this and that. And
Mhm.
until we see you again, we wish you much peace and happiness, and peace be still. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Lee?
Have a wonderful school year with your students. Just be safe and
Yes.
enjoy the school year.
All right. Until we see you again, peace be still. Bye bye.